Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Much like the George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of Best Served Cold, Joe's first standalone, and the next First Law entry after the original trilogy. And on this episode, we review politics and possibly no more delays. So let's get started. I was told to adjust the intro a little bit, so there you go, folks. And as usual, we have to thank you for your continued support.
More importantly, thank you for enduring our inconsistencies.
What do you mean?
We like to change, like we just ran into. We like to change what episode, how many chapters we do. We like to not post things after we say we're gonna post them. Not send books when they're supposed to be sent. Things like that. So we appreciate you guys all for still listening despite our inconsistencies. Thank you.
Yeah, 2 years sounds like a long time. It really isn't. And we're still getting our feet underneath us regarding this whole having a podcast thing.
Yeah, exactly. And, we are trying our best. After all.
Yeah, we're trying, man. We're trying.
Yes, we'll get off our backs.
Also, I'd like to say, I've also, since the last episode, which only released 3 days ago from this recording, there's been like 6 or 7 memes on House of the Meme Maker. So thanks for upholding the request.
Love it.
Well
Good
done.
job.
Round of applause.
We are proud of
On
you,
the back.
people.
All of you
All of you.
who have
Yeah.
participated, we are so proud of you.
We will keep this community alive by the skin of our teeth.
So now you've got to keep the quota 7 a week, right?
That's the quota. Fill it. And we have talked about briefly, not really too in depth, about possibly having a video podcast because we see each other now on our little recording sessions, but we don't know if you should see us yet. We don't know. So that might be in the future. We'll probably have to use some different software instead of what we use now, though, I think, in order to record it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll figure that out. Plus, I think they would all see how much we really drink, and that's probably not a good thing.
Well, they couldn't tell already.
Oh my god!
It just depends on the episode.
They really have problems. Oh no. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna get right to it in sort of ways. We're gonna start off with one of my favorite segments, which is Best Meme of the Week. Georgie boy, this is you. Take it away.
So, again, thank you for everybody that heeded the call to action about sending memes out for the week, and they were brilliant. And the best one is actually from the owner of, or the creator of House of the Meme Maker, Sir Spaceman.
Willy Will.
Well, he will. And this is going to be a bit of a long one, but it's basically the Fellowship of the Ring described if it was written by certain authors. So, for example, it's Game of Thrones is, what if the series might never end because it just got a bit too long? Or Brandon Sanderson, The Way of Kings. What if Errera Luvatar died and Aragon killed thousands of children?
But I really do love the blade itself one.
The blade itself one. It's obviously the best one. Yes. What if Gandalf ran Goldman Sachs or any of your local banks?
No, not local banks. There can't be local banks. Valen and Bulk is a branch office.
any of your national local big banks.
The World Bank.
And that one got what 250 upvotes. That's a lot.
Damn.
Yep. Yeah, that's the biggest vote that we've seen in a long time.
Came in with the chaos. Yeah, absolutely. Love that.
Sir Spaceman, you still got it.
Yeah, so
He still
you
got
still got it, bitch.
it.
I bet he was drunk when he posted that.
Oh, he was.
Well, we would have been.
That is very true. That is very.
I'm always drunk when I post memes. That's true.
I'm not gonna say when I'm always drunk because I feel like I'm.
Anyways, well done, Will.
Oh, thank you for that, George. Appreciate it. You know we love the memes. Yes, please keep the memes coming. You know we love them. That interaction is what drives us forward to make these episodes. All right, so we go on to our first chapter read through, and this one, first chapter read through, and possibly only chapter read through. This one is called Il Politics, and we start off from the perspective of Shivers. First line: Shivers sat there frowning and drank, and he is in Duke Rogan's great dining hall with a bunch of other people. Monza's there, Duke Rogan, obviously, and I guess other captains. I think there's a League of Eight, another nobleman, the Countess of Katarda, Kabata, Kafoya. Which one?
All those important, unimportant people.
Right. So yeah, and
But he's absolutely fucking blown away, or not really blown away. He's kind of like,
oh, he's not happy.
so, he's not happy, and he's like looking over this fucking grand hall. He's just like, yeah, this is bigger than anything I've ever seen. This is what I really wanted to see when I came to Styria.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then, but now he's looking it through his one eye, and he's like, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, no, he sees this dining hall. Just this dining hall alone is bigger than Bethod's Great Hall on Carleon, right? And he knows that it's a place of majesty and magic built by gods for the use of giants. Shame the folk gathered there fell a long way short of either. And now he's just judging each and everybody that there with their gaudy jewelry and their perfumed mannerisms, blah, blah, blah. And then
It's the most drunk, angry person ever. Like, oh, just look at these guys. You think they're better than me? I can't believe this.
Yeah, and apparently the Austrians, some of the men there they look at Shivers with mild disdain, and then once he turns the rest of his towards them, then they have a look of severe horror. They're like, "Oh my god!"
I love to think that disdain is a word that he learned from Morville.
You're right, because he probably wouldn't be using that every day.
He would never have learned that. No
Disdain.
Northman use these kinds of words.
Nah,
Like Dogman would have said, he gives him a dirty look or something.
right?
Yeah.
But, and Shivers, he's learned just enough Styrian by now that he's like, no, it's a look of mild disdain.
Yeah.
That's a
Just
good
has
point.
pinky up while he's drinking his little goblet now of wine.
That's perfect, George. I didn't think about that but you're definitely right because just because Joe doesn't like pay as much attention to like they're speaking Northern, they're speaking Syrian. He does pay attention to how language is used inside of the different lines of dialogue. So I think you're right. I think that some of that was intentional with his dialogue change. I think it's pretty cool.
Yep. And he points out something that's very true at almost every party, is that always at every feast there's some stupid, ugly, mean bastard got a big score to settle with no one in particular, drinks way too much, and makes the night a worry for everyone. Seemed tonight it was him.
Oh, and everybody's been there. Well, some people have been there.
Yeah. And apparently he is taking to the part with some vim and vigor. He is excited to be this boisterous drunk asshole. So
Oh yeah, he's a real piece of shit. He's just harassing people like at other
Hey,
tables.
Spin on the
It's like,
floor. Hey, what are you looking at?
hey, piece of shit is a little rough.
Bunch of
here.
bastard cowards.
Yeah, he's like trying to start shit with people for no reason. So he's like, he looks at one guy, he takes his knife, he drives it into the table. He's got something to say to me, piss coat, and a bunch of, like you said, Harrison, bunch of bastard cowards. He goes,
I
not
like
a
the
single.
fact that he's probably saying it in Northern, and so
Yeah.
they have no idea what he's saying.
Yeah, he probably is thinking.
He's
He
drunk as fuck. He doesn't give a shit. He's just mad. I think he's saying it all in Northern, and that's why no one like actually reacts to him threatening them. He's just is like, "Hey, you bastard cowards!"
Bunch of pussies.
This is the average point of view of like a random German person right now.
Why right now?
Because of the Euros.
Oh yeah, they got eliminated, right?
Just all sorts of football hooligans from all over the world.
Wait, they didn't get eliminated yet. I don't think.
Who?
Germany.
Well, no, that's where it's hosted.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Gotcha. Right, right. Over in Dusseldorf or Bundesliga or whatever the fuck.
I think. Yeah, we're not advertising the Euros, but
I've been watching.
if you want to sponsor us,
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll sponsor you.
UEFA, get in touch.
And Shivers, he thinks about what the dog man might have said about this, this group of people, what Red Three Trees might have thought, or even Black Dow, and he kind of he almost laughs, but he stops because he realizes that if there's any kind of joke here, it's him, he's the joke.
He's still self-aware. Ouch.
Right,
He needs to drink more.
Right, because he's leaning on their charity in a way, on Rogan's charity,
He's definitely doing this pattern of manic and then deep, very very high valleys of emotion, of rage, of just whatever he's feeling right now, and then he just kind of dives, and he does this loads and loads over the course of this second half of the book. But I think this really really starts it, and it's really sad that it immediately just goes, oh no, it's just me, and never does anything about it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of somebody else, a certain. I wonder where he learned it from. Some kind of
a certain nine-fingered gentleman.
Oh man, look at this. This is terrible. I understand how terrible I am, but if only there's something I could do, Anyways,
are you talking about a specific individual potentially skirting responsibility and accountability? Is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah. Anyways, you're a complicated individual.
Yeah, sure, complicated. That's what we're gonna call him.
But we do get to the main source of his strife with himself and this party as he looks up towards the high table and he sees Duke Rogan and oh my god, is that his girl? Kind of friend.
That's my girl. That's my woman.
Yeah, talking to some rich a-hole and she's laughing at his jokes. Oh my god. Is she cheating on me, even though she hasn't slept with me for maybe 3 months?
No, not 3 months. She's still banging him, but it's more disgust fuck.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think
pity fuck.
Yeah, no, it's trust me, they are.
Yeah.
Come on, Harrison. They
all right.
are drifting apart.
Yeah.
But more than anything, though, he brings up that it's an insult for him to be all the way down there because in the northern culture, if you're at the bottom of the table, you're like a thrall. You're just like nothing.
That's right.
Which ironically is still the case here.
Well, yeah, but
it's just the fact that in the north, he would be at the high table. Period.
Yeah, right, exactly. And what George is pointing out is that Shivers feels like he's given so much. He's been so integral and important to Monza and Monza's mission that he should be attached at the hip to this woman, but apparently, they shunned him down to the end of the table down there. And he's over here and he's just like, they're making fun of me. They're laughing. What the fuck's going on? And he's not happy about what he thinks he's seeing or what he is seeing.
Yeah, and he goes into this paranoid spiral, doesn't he? He just kind of starts thinking, oh, what if they're fucking? Oh my god. And then he just goes over and over in his head, oh, everything we've been talking about, she owes me so much, I've sacrificed so much, why am I down here? And it just goes over and over in his head. Because he's just spiraling and spiraling. I think that's just such a good, you can really, really believe it. He would be in that state right now.
Yeah,
I think that's such a good character moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially considering that Duke Rogan is handsome, and Shivers knows that, sees that, acknowledges it. And he goes, "How much? I just want to break that handsome face." Mm.
Oh yeah, he's thinking about violence. He's being a violent man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he is not doing well internally here. And he knows we see that he took his knife out away from the table of wood, the wooden table. It's the same knife that Monza had given him the first day they had met, back when he had both of his eyes and a lot less blood on his hands, back when he had it in mind to leave killing behind him and be a good man. He could hardly remember what that had felt like. Bit of a break. We cut to Monza's perspective, and Monza's first line is Monza sat there frowning and drank. Now Monza isn't actually doing too good here from her perspective, unlike what we thought Shivers was seeing, right? So we could see that he might have been a little bit incorrect in his perception of what's going on with Monza and Rogan right now. She hasn't had a lot of taste for food lately, or ceremony, or kissing ass. So
Oh, definitely not Rogon.
definitely not Rogan. Now Benna was the one that would love to have been doing all this feasting and everything. He would have loved this, and then she was thinking about that. Then she realizes she says she has like a really bad headache, and not only does she have a really bad headache, but her guts, her stomach, she seems to be giving her some like maybe some heartburn, maybe she just roiling guts and all that jazz, and she's
I
noticed.
mean, to be fair,
Mhm.
she's literally been on the move and like just moving every single day since
Yeah.
she got up from falling down a cliff, and then a bit of recovery. There's
Right.
no fucking. There's no wonder she
Yeah.
feels like shit.
Right,
Well,
but
also, I think she just came off of the low that is finding out Casca not only foiled her plans and quote unquote in her mind kind of betrayed her. Now she also doesn't know how to succeed in winning, so now she's kind of lost, and now she's just hoping that Rogant can help her out because she also technically failed to follow up her end of the bargain, which was get the Thousand Swords on her side. So she's in all this turmoil. I think that's really what's rolling over her stomach. Is she doesn't know what to fucking do. She's just sitting here, and no, and you're right. She's been moving this whole time. Now she can't move and doesn't know what to do, and so she's just sitting there, just stewing. Like, what the fuck? Who am I?
Yeah, and she even knows though, like her stomach issues really started acting up after faithful Carpy drowned in front of her.
And that too. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just completely torn out. Like that was the start of it, and then just went downhill from there. And now she's. What has she got now?
I think
Shivers.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the first. I think this is the first time in the book as well that she hasn't had an immediate target that she could aim for.
Mm-hmm.
Like she knows fast car's coming, but it's literally just a matter of waiting for it.
Yeah. And I like how apparently Rogan can see that she's not feeling too well. She's looking too well, and he kind of like leans toward her with polite concern, like, "Why so glum, General Mercado?" And she goes, Orso's army's on their way. Duh." And he's like, "You're not better, but Rogan, come on." Anyway, I'm not gonna do the accent again. I promise. I won't. I won't. And yeah, so they, yep, that the Thousand Swords are on their way with, the Duke of Talon's, his army, the Talonese, as they call them. Apparently, the scouts have already reached Menzies Hill, and there will be no more delays. And which I like that. And then Monza asks him, "Are you sure the night before your own destruction is like really the best time to celebrate?" He goes, "Look, the day after might be too late," which is very true, very true. And
Very poignant. Everything that Duke Rogon says is very cliche and very poignant at the same time.
yeah, very true. Very.
I will say the thing about Rogan is like he does say that like he's like clever. He's clever enough to know he's saying cliche things, but not clever enough to realize that he's like how I'm trying. He's clever enough to know how he's perceived when he says things, but not clever enough to actually like make use of his intelligence. Does that make sense? Like he's just self-aware enough.
Just self-aware enough, but he thinks he's saying some profound shit. He's like
Yes,
one of those guys.
right. Like he knows that like he's got a procedure and he knows how to play the games and use his words and he's trying to manipulate Monza here, but he's just not on the same level. Like he's got some intelligence, but he is not on the same level at all.
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty good in-between character where they're not an idiot, but they're also not nearly as smart as they think they are.
Right. And Monza notices that there's a group of Gurkish priests here, right? And Rogan says that they're basically emissaries from Kalul, the prophet. And they're giving him money. That's the most that they can help out with right now. We'll see how far that money goes, if it goes anywhere. And they know, like Rogan knows that really Styria is just a sideshow between Gurkul and the Union, aka
Yep.
Kalul and Baez. That they're already kind of
But-
getting ready for the next battlefield. Go ahead, George.
So far, that he's the only person that's actually expressed that. He's the only person, apart from Ishri, who is obviously an agent of the Prophet or the Emperor or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
We know it's the Prophet, but
Praise
Like-
be to the prophet. Go ahead.
exactly. Like, also kind of takes the money. We know from Malthus, or used to be from Malthus. It's probably just somebody else now, but that's Baez. So we know it's just Baez and Kalul fighting over.
I think that the answer is Baez is not looking. So it's both parts. They're both looking for an ally, and they both want. If they can't get an ally, then they want Styria to be fractured up. And if they're both fractured up, yeah, it's more annoying, but it's easier to maintain. So obviously, Valen and Bulk have been backing Orso, and Orso is definitively the Union's ally. So if they have that, then they'll have the leg over Kalul. Kalul feels the same way about Rogant. So that's what they're both going for. But at the same time, if chaos rules in Styria, then they can't interfere in their shit either. So who knows how long they've been fucking with them?
Yeah. And
Probably a
then-
long time.
Yeah, and what they're
I love
fighting
it.
for there is obviously control of the spheres of influence. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But the more spheres of influence either party has, the better their prospects are in terms of any kind of direct battles or like a proxy war or anything like that. If you have stability in Styria, then you want to be the driving force behind that stability, right?
Yeah.
Or like you said, if you're fractured, then great. That means then neither. If I don't have an advantage, at least Kalul doesn't have an advantage, or vice versa. So they're always. And here's the thing: what they're really fighting for, they're just fighting over every piece of fucking land that exists, just because they hate each other and they want to spite each other for it.
True.
They could be fighting over what's that one island, Thond? No reason. If Kalul sends somebody there,
Bro,
Baez is somebody.
There's a whole civilization there, by the way.
Yeah, I know,
Not
but
like
I'm
anybody
saying,
cares.
let's say someone, like one of them sends somebody there, then the other is gonna be right there with them,
Yeah, that's true.
just to be petty.
And I just think that this is why Joe is such a good, because in the last 30 years or so, the real kind of truths of like colonization and imperialism and like just things like that. Half of the world was taken over by a corporation, the East India Company, and it was literally just it was just like how can we extract as much as we can from the land, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's how half the world was conquered. And it's just like, oh well, that's just like Angland and Starkland.
I mean, it's still ruled by corporation, isn't it?
yeah.
Same.
All right, let's get back to let's get back to Monza.
Yeah, sorry about that little.
Oh, reality, disgusting.
Oh yeah.
So the thing about Monza is that she's just not feeling good in general. Like she can't, like the wine doesn't taste good to her, the food doesn't taste good to her. Physically, she's just having a lot of, let's just say bathroom trips, not fun bathroom trips.
No.
She's just trying to get drunk as quick as possible to kind of just be numb to everything.
Yeah.
And she's looking around everybody there, and she asks Rogan, she goes, "Are you sure that I should be up here with you as opposed to maybe somebody else?" And he goes, "Well, somebody has to." And then he kind of looks, oh, it's the Countess Catarda of Afoya.
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 Yeah.
Mozzarella Parmigiano. Anyway, so the
When the moon hits your eyes.
So he notes that the Noble League of Eight, it seems, has become a League of Two. Is it really? Because I feel like there's more. than just
No,
two.
because that's all that's left is Sephoria and Osprey. Because remember, Puranti already folded without a fight.
Right. Okay. And then he notes that like if he's not wondering if it's too late for him to get out of the League of Eight, but not really. And he's just really the truth is that he's running out of notable guests. You know, besides the Countess, who else does he have that's like famous? And Monza fits the bill. And I like this
Just
little
to make him look good.
yeah. She goes, "Some exhibit to stiffen your wilting prestige." He goes, "Exactly." But those stories about my wilting are all scurrilous rumors, which we know what he's talking about there.
Duke Rogant, more like Duke Rizgant.
I just love how frank he is. He's just like, yeah, whatever, don't give a fuck. He was literally the last time we saw him. He asked Monza to spit on him. So
I would have asked more spit. Yeah.
Well, it was implied.
Yeah. And then he asked her, "Like, are you feeling sick? If you're not hungry?" She goes, "No. Maybe it's just the company." And he goes, "I wouldn't be surprised at all. My aunt was always revolted by me. She was a woman much prone to nausea. You remind me of her in a way. Sharp mind, great talents, will of iron, but a weaker stomach than might have been expected." Uh, so this guy already has like a little. He has.
Yeah, that's a weird childhood thing that he had just to bring up.
Yeah.
It's
A
kind of
bit
a weird thing.
an extended Freudian slip. Speaking of which, yeah, Rogon is just a bit of a weirdo, isn't he? But I especially love his portrayal from Stephen Pacey. The very slightly, very educated Edinburgh accent, like Scottish but posh at the same time.
I'm telling you, Henry Cavill. That's literally who I see. I'm just telling because he fits the bill. He fits the bill. He just would have to play
I could see, yeah, Henry Cavill playing this like little
over the
worm.
top.
Yeah.
But he looks handsome, right? He's a handsome guy. He fits the bill. Oh,
Yeah.
he looks good. He looks like a good king, and blah 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 blah. Just saying. I do like how Rogant is. Again, he's not as smart as he thinks he is, but he obviously he's very good at appearance, and appearance is a lot of ruling, unfortunately. And he's good. He is good at that. He's good at like, oh, look at me, I'm allied with Monza. That's right, the one who fucking kicked ass for 10 years. She's my ally now. And look at me, I'm all buddy with her. You never know what might happen. He's doing this all for appearances, but he's not. I also respect that he's not like hiding it either. Like you said, he's just frank about it. He's just like, yeah, I got a big cop.
And meanwhile, Bonza is sat there completely detached from all of this, and not thinking about Rogon at all.
Well, she was thinking.
She's thinking about how far she's fallen
Right.
from fighting against Rogon when he had all of the power, and now she has none of the power, and is fighting with Rogon against also.
And she also is. It's interesting too because like he thinks, like you can tell by the way he's talking to her, like he's like, oh yeah, she's into me, and she's like, that's not really what she's. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But she does note that with all that he's a better company than the alternative, and her eyes scanned and landed on Shivers, and the hard fact was that he sickened her. It was an effort just to stand beside him, let alone touch him. And it's not just about like how his face is now, right, with the missing eye. She's seen enough and done enough of, ugly things and everything.
Oh, he's not happy anymore.
Well, that's the thing. It's not just that. It was the silences, right? Those judgy, quiet, like guilt. Those silences that she's inferring guilt, doubt, blame for the eye and everything. And then she also remembers him whispering to her, "It should have been you." and she knows that he was right. That should have been her. He doesn't even talk about doing the right thing anymore. So she took somebody that was a halfway decent man and turned him the opposite fucking way now.
I love that she regrets it.
Yeah.
All of her guilt is just collapsing in on her now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about Shivers.
Right.
Like, this is the one thing, we've just seen all of these flashbacks of, like, the things that she's responsible for. Like, not responsible for per se, but, like, she enables Benna to stab all those people and kill all those people.
Mm-hmm.
And then she enables the Thousand Swords and Koska, and then afterwards, and then also to do all these things, which she doesn't really want to.
Yeah.
And now, could she sees all of that in Shivers?
Yeah. I think she does for sure.
Because now she doesn't have Bennett to prop her up as an emotional crutch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, she used him equally as somebody to rely on, but she also used him as somebody to justify her actions. Now that she's not there, she actually has to face her reality that she always has known and always has regretted, but now can't hide behind somebody else.
Yeah. Because go ahead.
In a way, Bennett also did, like, his part in their duo-ship was taking that blame, even though he was well deserved of that blame.
Well, not necessarily I don't know about taking the blame.
He was the one that made that. He was the one that made the hard choice.
No, I mean,
and then feigned out.
What I mean is, he was the one who that was, like, in her mind. I don't mean for everybody else. I mean, in her mind, she was like, oh well, I did it for Bennett, or I had to do it because Bennett did it, because blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Even though it's true to a certain degree, she doesn't really want to be a shit person, but she also used him, like you said, as a crutch in multiple ways. It's pretty interesting now that we're seeing more layers peeled back, how much they were in such a toxic relationship.
Yeah, and she's floundering also because, from the moment from when they were kids after her dad Japo died, she had one job, one single-minded goal, which is to protect and take care of Benna, right?
Yeah.
Now that he's dead, she couldn't do anything about it. She's the only thing she could do is seek vengeance, but she's floundering because none of these kills are actually giving her what she needs, which is purpose. She's making herself believe that she has a purpose by going, like, this is the only thing she can do, but that existential dread is, like, really creeping in. I feel like it could be wrong.
It is.
But
No, I think it's the
100%,
result of
100%.
everything.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, because of the part where she goes, I should be gone, just to find a way to kill Orso, but she was so tired she hardly could find the strength to say it.
Yeah.
And just she doesn't really, like, she really could have just, like, retired to the countryside. No one would have known better. She had all that gold.
Yeah.
She still has all that gold, but
Joe really loves to write tragedies. So this is just another one of them. Every single. Oh man, I feel for every single character that Joe writes.
Yeah. Me too.
But Monza especially, I feel like might be the least to blame.
You know what? When I read this book for the first time, I would have vehemently disagreed with you. The more times I've read this book, the more I realize something that we'll talk about near the end of this book, obviously, is, funny enough, Monza finds herself in situations where she almost has no choice but to go along with it's already pre-established what the decision is going to be. She goes, what the fuck am I going to do now? I mean, everyone always has a choice, right? You can always walk away. Sure.
It's just,
But
which is
let's
the
be
parallel
realistic.
between her and Shivers, isn't it? It's the same exact parallel.
Yeah.
And I feel like once she brings somebody on, they're then expecting you to move on and pay them. So there's that extra expectation, just like they had in the Thousand Swords, where we're going to fight these battles because we're a mercenary company.
Yeah.
Because that's just a fucking job that I've landed myself in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or that Beda landed them in. I feel like Monza has always been like that. Monza is from the start, like one of her first memories that we read is her father saying, "Make sure you get the north crop tomorrow, the north field."
Yeah.
It's always there's always a motive and an incentive, and she's always been like that. And then
there's a duty
this
bestowed
is the
upon
this is the first time where she really sits down and goes, "Fuck."
Yeah, there's always been some kind of duty or tasks bestowed upon her that she has to fulfill.
Yeah.
Even from a young age. Yeah, absolutely. So Mons is obviously having some kind of like existential crisis. And she asks why would Rogan want her like there, and he goes, I want you. Oh, I can delay no longer. Soon, maybe even tomorrow, there will be a great battle, one that will decide the fate of Styria. And what could be more valuable than the advice of one of Styria's greatest soldiers? And she goes, I'll see if I can find you a great soldier, because she's not talking about herself. Right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, you have many friends. And she goes, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he goes, well, the people of Talons, they love you still. And she goes, they think I'm dead over there. What are you talking about? And he goes, actually, I have paid people to basically make the citizens aware of your survival. We've been posting flyers everywhere of your survival despite your assassination attempt, and it disputes Duke Orso's story and charges him with your attempted murder, and we proclaim your imminent return, which is odd.
I will say that's one of the biggest brand moves that Rogan has, and he should be proud of that one. That's fucking genius.
That is genius.
That's a really good move.
If you're a first-time reader, right, if you catch this, it's like proclaiming your imminent return. It goes, why would he, plan something in the future and like her imminent return if he's so sure that this battle that's coming up is going to be his last battle? It smells like Duke Rogan has something up his pissy little sleeve. I don't know.
But also, Duke Rogan is like, this is the thing I'm talking about, where he's smart. He makes this move, and he says it to her too. And we know, like, Monza doesn't believe it, but we know that Monza was popular with the people. So if I read this, I was like, oh, okay. This story might be going in a different direction than I thought it was gonna go.
Yeah. And she goes, politics, eh? Small gestures, I guess, when war is knocking at your gates. And he goes, look, in war and politics, both you are still an asset to be courted. And then he goes, besides, what extra reason should a man require to keep cunning and beautiful women close at hand? She goes, fuck yourself. And he goes, when I must. But I'd much rather have help. But then...
And again, I can't believe that Stephen Tracy delivers that line so well. It's just, it's incredible. When I must. But I'd much rather have help.
It is excellently stated.
Excelente. We get a bit of it. We cut over, and we're back to Shiver's perspective, and somebody walks up to him and says, you look almost as bitter as I feel. Now remember, Shiver's just drunk. So he goes, eh? And he sees that there's a woman talking to him. He goes, eh? And he goes, oh, she's pretty. But she's like different from the rest. She stands out, this woman. She's got a little something special to her, you know?
She's not like other women.
Yeah. And then she says, is there space to sit next to him? And he notices that she's speaking Styrian with a Union accent. So she's an outsider just like he is. And he's confused.
Wow.
He goes, you me's want sitting next to, huh? And she goes, yes, of course. Well, do you have the plague or something? And he goes, look, this keeps people well clear of me. And he shows her the rest of his face. She doesn't miss a beat. She goes, we all have our scars. Some on the outside, some on the inside. And she jokes that like she looks are overrated. And he looks her up and down slowly. He goes, well, easy for you to say. You got plenty to spare. And she goes,
Smooth.
Yeah. She goes,
oh, I think so anyway.
she goes, manners. She says, manners. And I swear, I get this impression when she goes, like, I do declare, I despair of finding any among here this crowd. I swear, you must be the only honest man here. Oh, boy.
I feel like that accent actually works with her in her slow transition period into a different character.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then she holds out her hand for him, and he goes, "Do I kiss it? Me kiss this hand?" And she goes, "Yeah, of course." And then he goes, "Call Shivers." She goes, "I know." And he goes, "Ooh, do you know?" And she goes, "Yeah, we met before, but briefly. My name is Carlotte Dan Eider." Bow, 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 bow. She has made another reappearance. This bitch just don't die or leave. I loved it. Don't you love Carlotte Dan Eider, boys?
I do like your appearances. Yeah, I do like it. She's always she's kind of, I don't want to say she's a wild card, but she always had so much flavor because we know
Yeah.
her character. She's familiar, I guess.
She's smart, stylish. She's
I also really like too how
Mm.
when she's talking to Shivers about like looks and stuff, we know that she's not just playing him, that she genuinely does feel that way because of her conversations with Glocta.
Right.
Her idea about looks and stuff is she does feel that way. But if you just read this book, you think, oh, obviously she's manipulating him. But like there's
In a
more
way-
to it than that.
well,
That's
yeah,
what makes it good.
that's part of it. She is
Well,
manipulating him. That's
Yeah,
part
for
of it.
sure.
she's definitely manipulating him.
Yes, no,
100%.
For sure. But
don't get me
but-
wrong. I totally agree. I just think
I-
there's more to it than just that, though.
Right, and I see Harrison's point of view. Like we saw,
But yeah,
from the
but I do see what you mean. Like it ties in with her character,
right,
but that's how it's masterful, isn't it? Like because it's so familiar, you buy it, even though it's from Shiva's perspective.
right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like the manipulation and the belief about looks being overrated. They're actually they coexist within Carlotte, right? And we see that
Yeah.
she deep down she is a good person, but she knows she looks good, so she plays that up for her own advantages because she's got to use all the advantages that are available to her as a woman in this world, and now a woman with she had power as a spy for Glocta in Styria. Now with Ariel taking a header off the the diving board of Cardates, now that she's lost that. If anything, she's persona non grata now with the Union. So she's got to try to press any advantage she can have. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
and
know that
you know what?
she's manipulating Shivers a bit here, but you also know that she's really just being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You know, when I said she's manipulating him, oh, I can't blame her.
Right,
She's got nowhere to fucking go now. Like, or she is this, or end up in Glockter's prison.
Yep.
Yep. And
So,
yeah.
That's really no choice at all, right?
No.
Yeah.
and Shivers is like, he's like, Eider. Oh, you're Prince Ariel's lover. You're the one that Monza. And she goes, beat, blackmail, destroyed, and left for dead. That would be me. And then she goes, she looks up at Monza. She goes, Monza is it? So not only first name terms, but an affectionate shortening. The two of you must be very close. And he's like, close enough. and then she starts pushing the right buttons that she needs to push. She goes, well, she's sitting up there with Duke Rogan, and you're down here with the beggars and the embarrassments. Ooh. And he knows it. He's like, "Grr," and he goes, what brings you here? And she tells him about like after Sapani, she didn't really have any other choice because Duke Orso is no doubt offering a pretty price for her head. So she spent the last 3 months expecting every person she's passed to stab, poison, throttle, or kill her. So we now know we have a bit of an updated timeline that it's been 3 months since Cardates. So the whole thing with the Viscerine and Shivers getting his eye burned out might be like a month and a half.
Yeah,
somewhere
something like that.
something like that.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So, and then he goes, "Oh, I know that feeling of like thinking that death's around the corner, every corner." And she goes, "Well, you have my sympathy." He goes, "Well, the dead know that I could do with some sympathy." So he's being a little bit of a self-pitying right here.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, but he's been like that all night. He's just putting himself on anybody else, you know.
Yeah, I get it. And she says that you can have all of mine for what's that worth. You're just as much of a piece in this game as I am, and you've lost even more. Your eye, your face. But he knows that like she didn't really like seem to move, but somehow she's getting closer. And then she goes, then she goes, Duke.
Those womanly wiles.
Yeah, and then Duke Rogan. She says Duke Rogan is an old acquaintance, somewhat unreliable, but undoubtedly a handsome man. And he goes, I reckon. And she goes, I was forced to throw myself upon his messy, a hard landing, but some sucker for a while, though it seems he has found a new diversion now. And then he goes, Monza, she ain't like that. And she goes,
no, man, she ain't like that, bro.
Yeah, like that. And he goes, oh, really? Not a treacherous, murdering liar who will use anyone and anything to get her way? She
Ooh.
betrayed Casca, no, and stole his chair? Why do you think Duke Orso tried to kill her? Because it was his chair she was planning to steal.
Oh, shit.
and Shivers is like, he's drunk, so he doesn't know like what to say next about that kind of stuff. And she goes,
You got it twisted.
And she goes, why not use Rogan to get her way? Or is she in love with someone else? And he goes, you got it all twisted around. And then she goes,
too much power.
I have it twisted. There's a reason why they call her the Snake of Talons. A snake loves nothing but itself. And he goes, you'd say anything. She used you in Sapani. You hate her. And he goes, she goes, I would shed no tears over her corpse. That is absolutely true. And the man who put a blade in her could have my gratitude and more besides. But that doesn't make me a liar. Now she's practically whispering in his ear. Monscato Mercato, the butcher of Caprio, they murdered children there. Murdered in the streets. She wasn't even faithful to her brother from what I hear. And he goes, eh? Huh? And she goes, you didn't know? And he goes, no, what? And she puts one hand on his arm, and she goes, she and her brother were lovers. And he goes, what? And she goes, lovers. They used to sleep together like husband and wife. They used to fuck each other.
I think that actually is the first time it's explicitly mentioned.
Explicitly said. She goes, it's no kind of secret. Ask anyone. Ask her. And Shivers he can't even breathe at this point. He's like, what? And maybe
my whole house collapsing.
And then he's like, he goes, a few things made sense now that had tripped him up at the time, and he had known it maybe, but still he felt tricked, betrayed, laughed at. After all he had done for her, after all he had lost, the rage boiled up in him that he can't even keep track. He just can't keep a hold of anything. So he yells at her. He's like, you shut your fucking mouth. I don't see you trying to pull my goddamn strings. You take me for a fool. Do you send me? But she's not backing away. Carlotte, she has balls of steel. All right. She goes, me, you've made no sacrifices for me. Am I the one who's cut you off? Am I the one who sets you at nothing? And he doesn't know what to do. And so he feels like he has to get away from her for a moment. So he backs up because he thinks he's going to choke her out. And he bumps into a waiter. And the waiter drops his wine glass or whatever. And the waiter goes, sir, I most humbly apologize. And Shivers just breaks his fucking face open and cracks him in the ribs. And then he looks at his fist and he sees that a piece of his tooth is lodged in there. And so then he goes, oh my God. And so he just turns around and he walks away, stumbles away, really. Then
There's still that good man left in there a little bit. He's still, what I mean is, he's still got that little good man. He feels bad about it, doesn't he?
Yeah, but George, what did you say?
He is a piece of shit, though.
Who, Shivers?
Yeah.
Yeah, haven't we all just punched a waiter drunkenly after they bumped into us, though, once in our lives?
Nobody that was half my size, though. Clearly, if this guy, he's gonna punch through his face into his teeth in one punch. He's like half his size.
Well, we don't know that. Maybe
this is a skinny little peasant boy.
Well, maybe Shivers is just super, super duper strong. Don't forget that. Anyway, we cut over. There's a bit of a time break, right? Now we cut over to Manta's perspective. And her and Shivers are in the same bed. She's laying on her side with her back to Shivers. She's trying to keep as much space as she could possibly keep between them without going on the floor. So this makes me think, if they're sharing the same bed, are they still fucking? I think
not at this point. I don't think.
they're both like
This
kind of
is a dead bedroom.
You think this is a? You
Yeah,
think
this is definitely that bedroom situation. She feels bad still, so she's in there with him. But she also doesn't want to touch him because she's disgusted by him. Both equally because the bad parts of Benner she's actually starting to face. So her reminding of her Benner is starting to kind of gross her out, and she's starting to face that reality, while also still being terrified and not liking Shivers for the kind of person he is as well. And Shivers doesn't actually really want to be with her. He wants to make her suffer, but he also is still like, I like it, because
Well,
it's sex and he's a man. So I don't know.
right,
It's
right. I mean, maybe they haven't been. They're not fucking right now. Maybe not. Yeah, they're just sharing the bedroom. I will say both of their feelings to the other is much more complicated.
Yeah.
And she's trying to think about what Benna would have said to make her feel better, as opposed to what Shivers might say. But she can't even really remember what Benna's looks like anymore, almost, which is struggling. What matter of fact, what she remembers are the faces of the men that they've killed so far: Gaba, Malthus, Ario, Ganmark, Faithful. And then she's also remembering Foscar's little face and Orso as well. And she's kind of like, this is so this encompasses like all of her mind to the point where she goes, "Oh, gotta get out of bed, gotta get a smoke." And Shivers goes, "What are you doing?" And she's
And we've all been there as well. When you're lying in bed, when you're high or drunk as fuck, and you're just like, oh yeah, no, I should not be lying down right now.
yep. And we know Shivers is hammered. We know Monza was drinking, trying to get drunk, but she wasn't feeling well. They talk about like he said that she should smoke less. She thought about it, but decided against. And he says it's a shitty fucking habit. And she goes, you're right. Maybe I should take up knocking servants' teeth out instead. Rogan wasn't much impressed, I could tell you that. And he goes, yeah, well, it wasn't long ago you were much impressed with him. Seems like your feelings about people change with the wind. And she goes, what the hell's eating at you right now? She has a headache. She doesn't want to talk to him, let alone argue. But sometimes it's like moments like this is where people really said the most meanest things to each other and hurtful things. And he goes,
100%.
So she goes, what's eating at you? He goes, what do you think? She goes, look, you know what? I have my own problems to deal with. Forget it. And he goes, you leaving me is what? What the fuck are you talking about? He goes, tonight, down with the shit while you sat up there lording it with the Duke of Delay. And she goes, you think I was in charge of the fucking seating? He put me there to make him look good is all. And then he goes, well, I guess looking good ain't something I can help with these days. Now that's
self-pity.
Yeah, that's some serious, bro. That is that's some cringe shit right there. That's an ick.
Yeah,
that's
but to be fair, this isn't just some like weird like. This isn't anything minor. This guy has literally had half of his fucking face burnt off.
Yeah, and to be fair to him,
so it's not an invalid complaint.
This is the most sober, direct conversation about his eye that they've had since before he was delirious in pain and saying it should have been hers.
Yes.
After that, they went to the eye maker. She's pointing out that, maybe your fake eye like droops this way here, there.
Skirting around it.
Yeah. So now he's actually he's confronting in front of her, like, yeah, I'm not handsome anymore or whatever. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, he was considered a handsome looking dude. Like Shiver's like, he's got a good jawline and everything.
Yeah, he was good looking. He was good looking, and that's why
it probably hurts even
Monza
more.
kind of picked him to replace Benno.
Yeah.
By trying to mold him because he was traditionally handsome.
Yeah. And
now he's like a fucking wreck.
Yeah. Although I imagine the right side of his face, the side that hasn't been burned, it probably still looks good. From like if he's profile.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? We're gonna do like a Phantom of the Opera type.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? Switch it up, man. And then she goes, look, Rogan can help me. That's all. Foscar's out there with Orso's army. Foscar's out there. And Shivers goes, what, vengeance? And she goes, yes, they killed my brother. I shouldn't have to explain it to you. You know how I feel. And he says, no, I don't. And she goes, what about your brother? And I like this because this shows us that she actually was paying attention to when Shivers talked about the North and the Bloody Nine and Blacked Out. Remember, she tried to play her along like, I thought you said something about Black Now or whatever. No, it's Blacked Out. She knew. She goes, Thought you said the bloody nine killed him. I thought, and then he interrupts, and he goes, I hated my fucking brother. Folk called him Scarling Reborn, but the man was a bastard. He showed me how to climb trees and fish, nick me under the chin, and laugh when our father was there. When he was gone, he used to kick me till I couldn't breathe. He said I killed our mother. All I did was be born. When I heard he was dead, I wanted to laugh, but I cried instead because everyone else was. I swore vengeance on his killer and all the rest, 'cause, well, there's a form to be followed, ain't there? Wouldn't want to fall short. But when I heard the bloody nine nailed my bastard of a brother's head up, I didn't know whether I hated the man for doing it, or hated the man that he robbed me of the chance, or wanted to kiss him for the favor, like you'd kiss a brother, I guess. And Monza,
Shit.
which is that monologue right there was like, oh shit, he's finally like telling the truth about how he felt about his brother. And then Monza, for a moment, she was about to get up, go to him, put her hand on his shoulder. Then his one eye moved toward her, cold and narrow. But you'd know all about that, I'd reckon. Kissing your brother.
Mm.
Oh.
And I think that's a really full circle there, isn't it? Because he's just explained the full cycle of his trauma.
Yeah.
And the last thing that he hasn't done to somebody else is abuse them just for the fun of it. And that's what he literally does to Monza right now.
Yeah.
He does it because he feels like that, that's the spite coming through.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
know
He
what?
does exactly what his brother did to him.
Exactly. And that's exactly what you're right about that.
Yeah.
And if he would have just shut up for about 10 seconds more, right? Monza would have put her hand on his shoulder. He would have probably said something else, right? But because he wanted to be spiteful and angry. And I mean, listen, let's be clear. You hear some rumors about incest, you're going to have to address this. That's a big ass elephant in the room. I'm sorry.
Of course, he just didn't do it right though, did he? He's like, "Hey, you're a bitch for sleeping with your brother," and she's like,
I heard you suck Ben's dick, girl. And and then she like instantly gets angry and she goes, "What my brother was to me is my fucking business," which is ugh. And she goes, "I'm not in the habit of explaining myself. I don't plan to start with the men that I hire." And he goes, "Oh, that's what I am to you, is it?" And she goes, "What else would you be?" He goes, "After what I've done for you, after what I've lost." She goes, well, paid, aren't you?" He goes, "Paid, bitch. How much is my eye worth, you evil cunt?" Which is wow. And then she.
I mean, he's not wrong, but it also, like
Yeah.
I said, this is just
timing.
escalated now.
It's timing and the delivery of your message. You know what I mean?
not communicating
Yes,
correctly.
exactly. But also at the same time, everybody always says like, "Oh, this plot point could just be alleviated if these two people just had a conversation."
Yes.
And this is the conversation.
but a different. If they just would have had a different kind of conversation, and then she gets like a lamp. She turns around and she goes for the door to the balcony, but then we hear his voice. He goes, "Where are you going?" And then she goes, "Clear your self-pity before I'm sick." And then he goes, "Monza," and she looks back.
Oh,
And he's sitting slumped on the bed, the saddest sort of look on his face, on the half of it that still worked anyway. Broken, hopeless, desperate, fake eye pointing off sideways. He looked as if he was about to weep, to fall down, to beg to be forgiven. And she slammed the door shut because it suited her to have an excuse. She preferred the passing guilt of turning her back on him to the endless guilt of facing him. Much, much preferred it. I mean, I would like to end this right here, but I'll just say that she goes on the balcony. She's loading up that husk pipe, about to light it up. It lights up, but then a big ass gust of wind comes out of nowhere, blows it all out. And now she's just so angry because the fire is out of the husk pipe. The fire is out of the lantern. So now she just like flings the lantern and she just screams at the top of her lung like, "Motherfucker!" But she doesn't say a word. She just screams. And then I do like the last little description, the sentence that describes. I like this last little descriptive sentence. In the distance, the angry sun was beginning to creep up behind the mountains, staining the sky around their darkened slopes with blood. Well, other than that, that's the end of that chapter. Boys, how do you rate this chapter?
I'm gonna give it a 9.
Wow.
It's a 9. Sorry.
Wow, you're giving this a 9.
I'll say sorry.
Holy
I
shit.
fucking love this
Yeah,
chapter.
listen.
This is what, because you get so much more of every single character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of the important ones, the ones that matter.
It's crazy how fast her group got whittled down to just 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that they are almost playing off each other, even though they don't interact for the first half of the chapter.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's back and forth, and they mirror each other, and it's so well constructed, and it's so well delivered, especially with the audiobook again. But
Yeah.
wow, and everybody's been through some kind of experience that would relate them to this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
I think that this conversation at the end is like really the highlight because it's such a good like two characters having a discussion in such an unconstructive and unproductive way. It's so relatable and such a good breakdown of a relationship inside of two people that are obviously they're sympathetic in many ways and both have the same issues and are treating each other the same way and treat their siblings the same way. Obviously, Shivers didn't sleep with his brother, but he still held him up on this pedestal and everything, even though he hated him. And it's so their dynamic is complete here. Like where their parallels are equal, and we do get that climax. I think this is that peak there, and it's cool to see Rogot doing stuff and Carlot pop back up. So it's pretty tough for me because I really think that relationship is done so well. So I think I'm going to say 8 and a knuckle. I don't think it's a 9 for me, but it's really high up there. So 8 and a knuckle for me for that one.
Yeah, I was actually going to be along the same lines as you, Harrison. I was going to say 8 and a knuckle. Well, actually, I think I'll go 8. I'll go 8. Because that's the number I really had more in my mind than anything. But very, very, very good chapter, right?
Yeah.
We went real deep on the internalization of both their feelings, Shivers and Monza and Shivers. And then we get Carlot Dan Eider thrown back in the mix. Like, oh, come on.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, then we get
and Duke Rogon being a backbone to the whole chapter.
yeah,
he's on everybody's mind.
Oh yeah, yeah, yes he is. That's for sure. We get Shivers' admittance of like his conflicting feelings with Monza, his desire for her, his anger at her, his potential hatred of her. We get Carlot pulling those strings, and then pulling the wool over his eyes in terms of guess who's a brother fucker. Then we get Monza, really coming to terms with the fact that vengeance doesn't seem like it's giving her the sustenance that she thought it would or should. It seems like she should be, she thinks she's doing it for the principle of the matter, which is, yeah, true, probably still doing it for that. But if the idea of like taking vengeance is the idea that it's going to satisfy you in some way, and she's not getting anything whatsoever. Matter of fact, she's practically barely remembering what Bennett even looked like, And then the guy that's in front of her that has given up a lot for her, gave up a little bit too much for her own liking, has admitted out loud that he blames her. Even in a delirious state, it's still an admittance, and she has to grapple with that. And yet he's still by her side. It's almost like she would have preferred that if like he would have went over to Casca's side, maybe when Casca asked him.
I think so. It would have been easier.
A part of her would have rather that, but then the other part is like, no, I need you.
Yeah.
I feel like Monta doesn't really understand that kind of devotion.
No, she does because she had it with Benna.
But if Benna had been scarred in that way, do you reckon she'd have stayed by him?
Yep.
Oh yeah, definitely Benna though.
Yep.
Definitely she would have stayed by Benna's side there.
So her brother and she was porking him? That's like double the love or something. I don't know.
That increases his love by 20%.
Allegedly.
Man, let's be honest.
Not been proven yet.
George, shut up. You know goddamn well they were fucking. They were out here. What do you need them to throw a kid off a
I
tower?
don't know that. I don't know. She never said it. So
The minute that the fact that she goes, "What my brother was to me is none of your fucking business," she could have been like, "Bro, that's disgusting. What are you talking about?" No,
she could.
no,
Yeah, but no.
no,
Yeah, that's
no.
not. Yeah, no. I
This is
don't
what
think
she
that's
did.
proof.
This
I
is,
still don't think that's proof. I think that can be a perfectly rational reaction if, again, she's still grieving.
brother. You know what? We know what she did to Benna. She did that hook to on Benna. So don't even.
Spit on that thing.
Hey, boy.
Fuck's sake.
Don't even. Sorry, I'm sorry. I
Oh,
know
I
that's been
fucking hate that.
overused and overdone, but still, fuck it.
Is that literally just a fucking
awesome.
TikTok video?
Something like that, I guess. I don't know. I just seen it
I fucking
everywhere.
hate you.
It is a TikTok video, but I mean, TikTok is the internet now, so you can't really bash it for it. Just saying.
Yeah, whatever. What are you gonna do?
The internet belongs to China now.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, okay, you Republican bastard. Just because it's Chinese.
Hey. Don't be too much of a progressive here, Harrison.
We'll talk about this later.
So, considering of how much detail we went into this chapter, which was a lot, and at the request of our arch-selector, and who am I to refuse, the leader of the Inquisition? I am not trying to get my ass pierced with some instruments. We're gonna actually postpone no more delays to the following episode, so we'll just add that to the list of chapters we're doing then. So we're just gonna go straight to our final segment for this episode, since character spot there's not really much to go into, and we wanna highlight specific characters. Although we could talk about that waiter that got his face punched in. Waiter, we hardly knew ye. So anyway, we're gonna go into our final segment, and this is our community interaction segment. And Harrison, this is you. Take it away, buddy.
We had a very lovely individual come and email us, which we love those emails because we don't get it very often, so it's really cool. And they said something very sweet about making their weekend shifts at work go a lot smoother, and that's very sweet. And they had basically a question, and that was if the Union uses shields. And it led me to do some thinking, which I had actually thought about this already, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Basically, does the Union use shields? The answer is yes, they do in the original trilogy, but as time goes on, Joe actually pulls it back to where they're just using plate and like halberds and stuff, which is in line with like historical work as well. And that's something that is never talked about. Joe's like a little world building that he takes the time to like talk about in very small little moments, like how there are no shields, like especially at the Battle of Stauffenberg. They're all men in plate marching back to back or shoulder to shoulder against a whole nother line of halberds. I thought that is a really cool detail. And with pikes, I'm sorry, yes, and how they have pikes and halberds and things. And I think that's really cool how he's able to show that without even saying it, and a lot of people probably don't even notice it. So, what do you guys think?
I think that's absolutely Jesus. I'd never really thought about that hard, but all of those little details now that you mentioned it, that I always thought that the battles were very, he teases you. He teases you with the Battle of Dumbreck, where you only see it from one person's perspective, and they're all the way in the back, and you don't really get a.
Mm-hmm.
But they must, the King's Own and everybody else must just have shields in the early. But then you gets more the Landsknecht kind of thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's in the heroes.
With the big pikes and the brass plates and
It's cool because in the heroes, they're in like this interesting transition period where like Gorst and certain individuals, they even state that they have shields and they use them and stuff. But like whenever they're marching up the hill to the heroes, they all have halberds and they're all wearing, like the King's Own is wearing plate armor. And I think that's super. And then, whenever they're breaking down the doors to go into, I think it's Ostrung, when they're breaking down the doors and stuff, they're all like plated up fucking metal monsters with big old great swords and axes. And I think that that's really cool because by the time we get to Stauffenberg, like I said, like they all have, like they're in a full pike line. And that's a really cool, logical, historical evolution that Joe doesn't even like bring up other than the fact that he just naturally does it. This is awesome.
Exactly. It's just a description of the person that's wearing the armor, and it's just like, Oh, there's this big line at my neck that could just be stabbed really easily. Oh shit!
What I
Isn't it wonderful that everybody just aimed for that bit?
what I love about George is that he gets just enough of like the military detail right, but he doesn't get bogged down in it, and he just really makes you like empathize or sympathize with the person that is either doing some stabbing or getting stabbed, right? And I
Mhm.
love that about it. You know, like his famous Little People chapters and all that stuff. He writes battles so well because it's so chaotic yet clear. Like I understand what's
Yeah.
happening. You understand what's happening, and it's just so well done. And his attention.
Exactly. He doesn't get bogged down writing about anything else.
Right.
All that matters is what's going on in the character's head,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Yeah, he's like, all right, they
Yeah.
got some
Uh,
shields, they pikes, halberds, all that jazz. Okay, now let me just tell you what's happening.
I love that one in Stop and Bear, particularly Harrison, where he's like, "Yeah, I've just got my stick, and I'm just marching with my boys. I've just got my stick.
It's so sad.
Just thrust the pike when you get there."
Nice and easy. Nice and easy. So
Nice and easy. Yeah.
thank you for the email and for letting give us an opportunity to talk about that stuff. That's the kind of questions I love. It's like because Joe
Yeah.
is really good at the subtle world building, and a lot of people don't pay attention to that. And the fact that he's good at that and the character stuff, just mwah,
Mwah.
it's wonderful.
Excellent.
And we really want to encourage you to send us more emails, send us more messages. We like talking. We
You
obviously
give
like
us that nerdy shit.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just go on over and email us at circleoftheworldpodcast@gmail.com. You know our social media channels. You already know that. So get over there so we could get more segments like this.
We need you.
The people.
But this is what makes the podcast. You the people.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we absolutely will cover No More Delays and All Business.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media, and we have a website at circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. And please make sure to rate and review. Thank you all again for listening.
I'd much rather have help.